Welcome back for part 2 of the A&A Corvette C6 Supercharger Kit installation. Just so you know, I will be referring to the A&A instructions as a reference, but as it does say in the instructions, you don't necessarily need to perform all of the steps in the same order in which they are presented. Additionally, I'll probably be performing some of those steps just a little bit differently than they're shown in the instructions, and of course, I may deviate from the order as well.
Toys for life.
Next, I'm going to install the hose and the one-way check valve that goes from the valley cover to the intake manifold. The one-way check valve is needed because with an NA car, there's no boost in the intake manifold, so you don't have to worry about air flowing from the intake into the valley cover. But when you're under boost, there might be 10 pounds of pressure above ambient inside the intake, and we don't want that air blowing backwards through the intake into the valley cover, so that's why we need to add the check valve. You will notice that the tube from the valley cover is a little bit larger diameter than the tube from the intake manifold, and the hose they supply has one end with a larger hole than the other. So if I test fit this hose with the small end on top and the big end on the bottom, you can see I actually want the bottom part of the hose to be longer. So that's where I'm going to put the check valve because it is going to lengthen the hose. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it about right here. That way this will have an opportunity to have the barb be in the smaller part of the hose, and that'll make the bottom part of the hose a little bit longer as well, which is what I need on my setup. And that's going to work well. And again, you want to make sure the flow only allows the air to go from the valley cover up into the intake. So make sure you provide suction on this end to make sure that's the only way it can flow. I'm going to trim a little bit off the top as well, so that goes a little bit further on the bottom tube. And here's what it looks like when it's complete on my LS2. With that hose taken care of, let's knock out one more easy step, and that is on the LS2 to simply plug the port on the valve cover on the passenger side. Now, I already did this to make the intake manifold swap easier, but I'm going to unbolt the evap solenoid bracket from the head. This is a 15 millimeter, and then I'm going to remove this bracket by just bending that metal tab up and sliding the bracket off, and I'll set this aside for now because this bracket here apparently is not reused. Next, I'm going to go ahead and remove the main drive belt by compressing the tensioner right here with a 15 millimeter. And then I'll take off these two bolts that hold the tensioner to the water pump and put the bolts back in because I think we might need to reuse them. Now, I'm going to be leaving the radiator in place, but I'm going to go ahead and remove the fan shroud next. We'll have to do that to make room to pin the harmonic balancer. And in order to drop the fan shroud, we'll pull this hose out of its clamps like that. We've got a screw right there that needs to be removed. There's a screw on the opposite side down low that needs to be removed. And then we'll have to remove this wiring harness wherever it has these clips to the shroud. And of course, the main fan harness right down there. So once I have all of these undone from above, I'll raise the C6 up and get the rest from the bottom. Okay, I'm underneath the C6 in order to give myself a little bit more room dropping the fan, and it has to come out anyway to be able to drill and pin our harmonic balancer. I'm going to go ahead and remove the front sway bar, and to do that, I'll just remove this nut on each side and pop the link out of the lower A-arm. Same thing on the driver's side, and then I'll remove these two bolts and these two bolts and just get the sway bar out of the way. All right, so I've got the sway bar loosened up almost all the way out. Having these loose makes it easier to finish these off, so there's no binding involved. I just have to pop this one out as well, remove the last two bolts, and the sway bar will be free. And I like to put the bolts back in where they came from. That way you can't lose them or mix them up with some other bolts. Sometimes that happens. And as you can see, now we have plenty of room to drop the fan without having to kind of squeeze it through here where the sway bar was. And the last thing we have to remove to take the fan out is this bolt right here. Then the fan just lifts up off of these little perches, and there's two up top as well. So once we lift the fan up, we can pull it backwards just a little bit and it should drop out the bottom. Your C6 water pump is likely going to need a little material removed in order to provide a little bit more clearance. The extent of material removal will depend on which water pump your particular C6 has. Before grinding away at the water pump in this area right here, this ridge that has to come off, you want to make sure that your water pump's not failing. And you do that by spinning this. There should be no play in that bearing whatsoever. This one spins beautifully. And if it starts to leak, usually you can start to see a little bit of evidence of coolant kind of puddling and dripping off the bottom here. I don't see any evidence of that, so I'm going to continue to use this water pump, and I'm going to go ahead and remove this material with the water pump attached to the engine. I'll be covering up everything down here as well as possible so I don't get the aluminum shavings all over everything. Getting ready to remove the material from the water pump. At a minimum, cover up your throttle body so you can't get anything in here. I've got everything covered up below, including the air conditioning compressor, the radiator here. Aluminum shavings will be getting all over the place. So you want to cover this up and respect your C6 like it's a patient in an operating room. There's many ways to do this. I'm going to use an air-powered die grinder with a cutting bit that I bought to port an M90 supercharger a few years ago. This should do a pretty good job of cutting through that aluminum without getting gummed up. And here's one more look at my patient before she goes underneath the knife. So I think I have enough material off. To smooth things out a little bit more, I'm using this half-round file just to make sure there's no high spots right here in this corner. All right, here is my finished product. You can see the material that's been removed, and I just hope that we removed enough material. Here's a shot of what the water pump looks like from the bottom here. You can see we removed most of that hump. I'm just kind of mocking this up. I know the belt's going to be pushed down further with one of the other pulleys, but I think it's going to be okay, but we'll keep a closer eye on it as we get further along in the install. We may have to shave a little bit more off, but I think we're good. Let's take care of pinning the harmonic balancer today. And this job is necessary because the supercharger puts a lot of extra stress on our vibration dampener or harmonic balancer, whichever you prefer to call it. So we have to pin it to the crankshaft because from the factory it's just a press fit, and the added resistance of the supercharger and stress will probably spin it on the crank if we don't pin it. So when it comes to getting access to this bolt, the steering rack is in the way, so we have to do something about that. Before starting the job of pinning the harmonic balancer, I want to check on the status of my motor mounts, because if they're shot, I'm going to want to replace these now while I'm doing the harmonic balancer pinning, because there's some synergies here if you do both at the same time. So I've got the engine supported. I've removed the nut from the bottom of the motor mount on this side and on the passenger side, and I've slightly lifted up the rear of the motor so the engine is pulled up off of the mounts a little bit. The top nut is still bolted down, and this shouldn't be able to spin like this. So this tells me that this motor mount is trash. This piece of rubber even came off of one of the motor mounts, so that's not good. So that's going to change the calculus on how I go about pinning the harmonic balancer, because for this job I like to drop the cradle down at the same time raise the engine up so I can get the motor mount out, and that will help me to pin the harmonic balancer as well. Step one, if you're going to use the method I'm about to show, is to lock the steering wheel. Do not skip this step. If the steering wheel spins while we have the steering column disconnected from the rack, you will destroy your steering wheel position sensor, and that's like a 4-hour job and a $200 part if you can find one. Do not skip this step. Step two, we're going to disconnect the steering column shaft from the steering rack, and we can do that. You can see the nut down here, and it's an 11mm socket, and if you get the angle just right, you can get at it from right in front of the alternator. Next, we need to slide the steering column shaft off of the input shaft to the steering rack. If you fail to do this and we lower the cradle with the steering rack attached, you will most likely damage the steering column shaft or other components. So do not forget this step and do not skip this step. For the driver's side motor mount from the top, with headers anyway, I can see the nut right through there. So I'll just use an extension. With cast iron manifolds, it's probably going to be a little bit different and you'll have to find a route to get to that nut. And on the passenger side, this might be one of the few instances that having headers is actually making things easier. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing with an extension and get that nut off the motor mount. Since I'm going to be dropping the cradle quite a ways, the ABS unit, we're going to leave that connected to all the brake lines, but two of them come up here to the master cylinder, and then the rest go down and attach to the cradle. So I'm going to unbolt it from the mount with that nut right there and that nut right there. And I'm going to kind of hang this with a bungee cord. That way, when it needs to drop, half of the drop will be stretching these two lines a little bit, and half of the drop will be stretching the bottom lines a little bit. Okay, those nuts are loosened, so this is free to slide. I've just got a piece of wood here locked in place, and as that drops down, it will go down a little bit, but not all the way, so I don't put all of the stress on these upper brake lines. Over time and flexing and age, the top tears away and all the oil that's inside here leaks out.